Jeenie had always believed that life moved in unpredictable circles, sometimes drifting quietly, sometimes turning suddenly and reshaping everything you once thought permanent. On the morning the news spread that her marriage to Prince had been fixed, she felt that same circle tightening around her, not in fear, but in a strange, bright anticipation. She stood on the balcony of her old family home, watching the city's soft morning light stretch across the rooftops. Her mind was full of questions, yet there was an undeniable calmness inside her. The kind that shows up only when life nudges you toward a path you were destined for but didn't realize you were walking toward. Prince, on the other hand, had always moved through the world with a quiet steadiness. He wasn't someone who rushed or let emotions overwhelm him. His family had told him about the proposal 2 nights earlier, and he hadn't said much, just listened, thought, and then nodded slowly. Not out of pressure, but because something within him recognized Jeenie's name, as if it carried a story he hadn't yet lived but was ready to write. He remembered seeing her years ago at a community event, not speaking to her, but noticing the thoughtful way she looked at the world. Some people spark noise inside you. Jeenie had sparked calmness. The day the engagement was agreed upon, both families gathered in Jeanie's home. There was gentle excitement drifting through the rooms, polite conversations, the faint clinking of teacups, the rustle of new clothes, and the elderly exchanging blessings. Jeenie moved carefully, greeting guests, feeling the slight weight of responsibility resting on her shoulders. She wasn't nervous, but she was aware that this day marked a threshold between the life she had known and the one she was about to enter. When Prince walked in with his parents, Jeenie saw him properly for the first time in years. He had changed, not dramatically, but enough that she could see maturity in the way he carried himself. Confidence in his posture and sincerity in his quiet smile. He wasn't overly expressive, and that suited her. She had always been introspective, preferring authenticity over loudness. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and something about that silent exchange felt honest, like an unspoken agreement that they were stepping into this future not as strangers, but as two individuals willing to understand each other. The families talked cheerfully, and the atmosphere warmed naturally. Jeenie sat across from Prince, listening to their parents speak about dates, ceremonies, and traditions. Though she wasn't speaking much, she noticed the subtle things: how Prince looked at people when they talked, how he only nodded when something genuinely made sense, and how he didn't pretend enthusiasm he didn't feel. It reminded her that truthfulness didn't always come from bold declarations. Sometimes it lived in quiet consistency. When their parents encouraged them to talk privately for a moment, Jeenie hesitated only slightly before agreeing. Prince followed her to the small courtyard where sunlight filtered through the leaves. It was peaceful, and the faint sound of distant traffic felt far away. Jeenie wasn't sure how to begin, but Prince spoke first, gently. "I know this is happening fast for both of us. I don't want you to feel pressured. If there's anything you want to ask or say, I'll listen." His voice was calm, not rehearsed, and somehow that made it easier for her to respond. "It is fast," she admitted, "but not in a bad way. I just want to be sure we communicate honestly. That matters to me." Prince nodded. "I want the same. I think we can build something respectful, something steady. Marriage shouldn't be rushed emotions. It should be a decision we strengthen with understanding." For a moment, Jeenie felt relief flow through her. She didn't need dramatic promises, she needed clarity, and Prince was giving her that without hesitation. Their conversation continued, simple questions about work, hobbies, and perspectives on life. It wasn't a grand romantic moment, but it held something more valuable: sincerity. They began understanding each other not through intense confessions, but through thoughtful pauses, respectful listening, and quiet smiles. They weren't trying to impress, they were trying to understand. When the families called them back, there was visibly more comfort between them. The engagement details were finalized, and the room filled with subtle celebration. Photographs were taken, relatives exchanged gifts, and laughter filled the corners of the house. Jeanie's mother held her hand with a mixture of pride and tenderness, knowing her daughter was stepping into a new chapter. Prince's father placed a supportive hand on his son's shoulder, acknowledging the maturity he was showing. As evening approached, the families departed with promises to meet again soon. Jeenie finally had a moment alone in her room. She sat on the edge of her bed, reflecting on everything that had happened. The idea of marriage no longer felt like a distant concept. It was real, approaching, and filled with possibilities she hadn't imagined before. She wondered how she and Prince would grow together, how they would learn each other's rhythms, and how they would handle the unknowns of married life. It wasn't fear she felt, it was curiosity and a hopeful calm. Meanwhile, Prince sat in his car as his father drove. He looked out the window, thinking about Jeenie. He appreciated that she wasn't trying to perform or hide behind polite pretenses. Her honesty had made their conversation meaningful. He respected her steady confidence and the way she carried herself without needing to say too much. Something inside him quietly settled with the certainty that this partnership could become something strong if they both put in effort. Over the next few weeks, Jeenie and Prince began communicating frequently, not excessively, but consistently enough to build comfort. Their conversations weren't dramatic, they were thoughtful. They talked about daily routines, personal dreams, and the little things that shaped their personalities. Jeenie discovered that Prince appreciated discipline and simplicity, while he learned that Jeenie valued emotional clarity and balance. Neither tried to change the other, instead, they made room to understand. As the wedding preparations progressed, both families grew closer. Jeenie visited Prince's family home with her parents, and Prince visited hers in return. Each visit strengthened the bond being formed, not just between Jeenie and Prince, but between the households that would soon become one. It felt wholesome, grounded, and reassuring. One evening, while Jeenie and Prince were discussing guest lists over a phone call, Jeenie said softly, "Do you ever get overwhelmed by how much responsibility this brings?" Prince was quiet for a moment before responding, "Sometimes, but I think responsibility feels lighter when it's shared." Jeenie felt the weight in her chest loosen. "Yes," she agreed, "it does." Those small exchanges built a sense of partnership that didn't rely on grand gestures. It relied on commitment, respect, and patience, qualities that quietly strengthen a bond from the inside out. As the wedding drew closer, Jeenie often found herself imagining the future, not in unrealistic fantasies, but in small practical moments. She pictured them having breakfast together, handling everyday decisions, supporting each other's work, and navigating challenges as a team. She imagined disagreements too, not to worry herself, but because she knew real relationships required effort and understanding. And she felt comfort knowing Prince approached everything with calm maturity. Prince too spent late evenings reflecting. He appreciated Jeanie's depth, how she thought carefully before speaking, how she handled stress with quiet resilience, and how she carried herself with grace even when overwhelmed. He respected her independence and knew that marrying her meant embracing not just a partner, but a person with a full, unique inner world. The day before the wedding, Jeanie stood in front of her mirror, not to admire herself, but to understand the moment. She realized that marriage wasn't just about ceremonies or celebrations, it was about partnership built slowly, honestly, and intentionally. She felt ready, not perfectly, but genuinely. Prince spent the evening organizing a few last-minute details, ensuring everything would go smoothly. He wasn't nervous, but he felt a meaningful weight, a weight that came from stepping into a promise he was prepared to keep with full sincerity. The wedding morning arrived with soft sunlight and quiet excitement. Jeanie dressed slowly, appreciating every moment as her family moved gently around her. Prince prepared with equal steadiness, feeling a calm determination in his chest. When they finally stood facing each other during the ceremony, surrounded by family and blessings, something subtle yet powerful shifted inside both of them. It wasn't a dramatic spark. It was a quiet promise, an understanding that they were choosing each other with clear minds and steady hearts. As the rituals completed and the family celebrated, Jeanie and Prince exchanged a small, genuine smile, a smile that held trust, respect, and the beginning of a journey they would build together one steady day at a time. Their marriage wasn't the result of whirlwind emotions or dramatic declarations. It was a thoughtful union built on clarity, consistency, and shared willingness, a future rooted in mutual understanding rather than unrealistic expectations. And as they stepped into that future, both felt something they hadn't expected but were grateful for, a peaceful confidence that this bond, grown through honesty and shaped by patience, was going to last.